You're listening to Keith Sports News. Hey there, guys. How's it going? That's right. Can you hear me? Hello? Yes, you can. All right. Welcome to KSN episode 25. All right. So, as you can see if you're watching the video, it's a little different. That's right. I'm in this room again, but I am not sitting at the bar, okay? I'm actually, if you can't tell, I'm actually standing up. Yep, I decided to stand up for this episode, all right? So, why? Because why not? All of my previous KSN episodes, I've sat down. So why not do a standing up challenge, I guess? I think I can stand up for 30 minutes. However, there is a lot to talk about. Yes, sometimes there is a lot more to talk about than the last KSN episode. So let's see if I can do this whole episode while standing up. All right. So, it's been a fast week. I got to say that. It's already a Friday. Man. See, I'm standing up here. That's why the webcam is tilted up. You can see the ceiling. Because if I'm sitting down, it would be like this. You can barely see my head, you know. So, all right. I need water because I'm going to be doing a lot of talking. Okay. So, if you can't tell, I know my hair is a little messed up because I just got out of the shower not too long ago. So, yeah. Okay, guys. So this week, the big thing happening in sports is obviously college basketball. March Madness has just begun. That's right. March Madness has just begun for the men and women. Oh my gosh, my microphone just moved on its own. It's like it just tilted up. Sorry if that was loud here. All right. So yeah, March Madness has just begun for the men and women, I believe. Actually, no, that's actually it's only the men, because it's a Friday, meaning yesterday, Thursday, the men's tournament has begun, and on Friday, the women's tournament will begin or has begun whenever you see this, because I always release my episodes at 11 a.m. Central Time, okay? Why 11 a.m.? Because 11 a.m. Central Time is usually when sporting events begin at that time. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the first March Madness game this year was a little after 11 a.m. That's why. So, anyways, so March Madness has begun. I don't like that the men's and women's tournament are happening at the same time. Isn't that weird? Now, for the men's tournament, they would have games on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But for the women's tournament, it would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I find that weird. Like, why 3 days do you have? Why you have 3 days, 3 consecutive days with both the men's and women's tournament? I know it. I think it's always been like that. And another question: Shouldn't the women's tournament begin before the men's tournament? Because, it's like ladies first. But here's another weird thing: the women's tournament ends a day before the men's tournament, even though the men's tournament began one day before the women's tournament. I wonder why that is. In my opinion, it should not be like that. I mean, how can you follow both men's and women's college basketball? It's like impossible. Now, they don't do that for the women's college World Series and the men's college World Series for softball and baseball. I'm pretty sure it's not on at the exact same day. Because I believe the women's college World Series is at the end of May. Okay? And the the softball, right? Women's College World Series is softball. And I believe that's at the end of May. The Men's College World Series, baseball, that is in, I think, mid-June or a little after Father's Day. So that time of the year. So if those aren't happening at the exact same time, then why do you have the men's college basketball tournament and the women's college basketball tournament happening at the same time? Doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. You could have had the women's tournament 3 weeks before the men's tournament. That's just me. That's why it's hard to follow both. But I usually don't follow the women's tournament. I would usually only follow the men's tournament anyways. So I'm just speaking for basketball fans out there, like, how can you follow both? Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, nothing but basketball for both the men's and women's tournament. You know what I'm saying? So, however, the past couple of years, women's college basketball has become pretty popular, which is very cool. And I'm sure it still is. It's just that why have both at the same time? Has it always been like that? I think the answer is yes. That one year I did a women's college basketball bracket challenge, but obviously that went horrible. I'm not doing it this year because I really don't know. I barely know what's going on in women's college basketball. All I know is that South Carolina's a great team, LSU is a great team, UConn's a great team. Is Iowa still a great team? That's really it. That's really all I know. Okay? But I'll hear some news about it. There's really one show that really only talks about women's college basketball that I sometimes listen to, and that is the Elle Duncan Show. Okay? Elle Duncan is a ESPN anchor for SportsCenter, and she was the host for Selection Sunday for the women's college basketball tournament. All right. So, anyways, I did before I get into the men's March Madness. The last episode, I filled out my bracket. Okay? And the other night, I filled out 5 more brackets, but they were pretty much all random. Okay? My main focus is my first bracket, the one that I made in the last episode. So I made 5 more brackets because you can make up to 25, which is crazy. That's a lot. I actually did that one year. So bracket number 1 was the real one, and then I filled out 24 random brackets, and they were all horrible. So I ain't doing that again. I did 5 this year. I did 5. Different champions, although some of the brackets have the same champions. Let me go through them right now, actually, before I get into some of the games and the results here. All right. Oh, yeah. A couple days ago, North Carolina won the game to get into the tournament, and they scored a lot of points. Okay, I actually made 6 brackets, 6 extra brackets with a total of 7 brackets. So I have not checked my brackets to see how they're doing until now. So bracket number 1, wow, I am ranked 5,843,646. Wow, a lot more people played this than Bowl Mania. I don't think a million people play Bowl Mania. Jeez. Over 5 million. Oh, I think I know why that is. Because you can make up to 25 brackets, entries. In Bowl Mania for football, you can only make up to 3. That's probably why there's um, a lot more entries in March Madness bracket challenge than there is in Bowl Mania. So bracket number 1, the main bracket that I did in the last episode, I have Auburn winning the whole tournament. Most people pick Florida to win. I don't know anything about the Florida Gators for basketball, but if most people are picking them, that means they are a great team. Watched them lose. Did they play today or did they play tomorrow? Let me go see here. Actually, before I do that, let's go through the results here real quick. So Auburn won their first game against Alabama State, 83-63. The very first game, this was surprising that this was the first game at 11:10, 11:15 a.m. Central. Number 8 seed Louisville against number 9 seed Creighton. Why was that the first game? Shouldn't that game be at prime time? It's 8 versus 9. I mean, that's like a coin flip. See, March Madness, man, I looked at their schedule, the times. It's like, when you look at the schedule, it's like, why is this game at night? Why is this game prime time? This game should have been the early game. You know what I'm saying? Louisville versus Creighton should have been on prime time. In my opinion, it should be on prime time. Creighton won 89-75. Wow, a lot of points. I got that game correct. So that means Auburn will be facing Creighton, and now that's a prime time game, of course, because it's number 1 Auburn. They're the number 1 overall seed. Michigan barely beat UC San Diego 68-65. Now, almost an upset. Texas A&M beat Yale 80-71. So that means we're having Michigan versus A&M in the round of 32. Okay, so half the games played on Thursday, half the games will be playing today, Friday. Okay, so that's on the South region. The East region, BYU beat VCU 80-71, and I got that game incorrect. VCU was one of my upsets, and I got that one wrong. Usually when I pick an upset, I get it wrong. And I heard Christopher Mad Dog Russo, I believe, or Adam Shine from SiriusXM, I think one of those two, if not both of them, said, usually when you pick a big upset, you get it wrong. That was my big upset. I got that one wrong. Wisconsin beat Montana 85-66. All right, now moving on to the West region. upset. Drake beat Missouri 67-57, and I got that game wrong. Wow. Never heard of Drake. So, I forgot to mention, BYU will be facing Wisconsin in the round of 32. Okay. Drake beat Missouri. They're moving on. Texas Tech beat UNC Wilmington 82-72. Drake will be facing Texas A&M. The big game that happened tonight or last night, Arkansas against Kansas. Arkansas won 79-72. My father was watching that because he's an Arkansas fan. That's where he went to college. Kansas, I knew that would be a tough game for Arkansas because Kansas is usually a great basketball school. St. John's beat Omaha by 30 points, 83-53. And you know what that means, ladies and gentlemen? The game that people want to see in round of 32, Arkansas against St. John's, because we are getting Coach Calipari versus Coach Pitino. Yes. And I think a lot of people said that that's not going to happen. I think more people picked Kansas to beat Arkansas, including me. I got that game wrong. I picked Kansas. I got that game wrong. But I'm glad Arkansas won. We're getting Arkansas versus St. John's in round of 32. And in the Midwest, Houston beat SIUE. I don't know what that stands for. 78-40. Holy crap. You only score 40 points? I get it. You're a number 16 seed, but it's like you didn't even belong in March Madness. Speaking of that, people were saying North Carolina didn't belong in March Madness. They didn't deserve to get in. It should have been West Virginia. Hey man, it is what it is. Are you saying, is this worse than when Florida State got screwed out of the college football playoff? I don't know about that, but North Carolina, they scored how many points to get into the actual tournament? Let me look that up. Let me check that right now. 95. 95? They beat San Diego State 95-68. Wow. And you're telling me that North Carolina is not a good team? I feel like if Houston played West Virginia, that West Virginia would score more than 40. More than SIUE. What does SIUE even stand for? Stands for Southern Illinois University Edwardsville. Okay. Hey, I know Illinois is great in basketball. I remember one year, a couple years ago. No, it was like 2018, 2019. Loyola Chicago was in the Final Four. You know what's weird is that if you watch March Madness for years, it seems like every year there's always this one big upset in the first round. And then you don't see them again for a while. It's like, for example, 3 years ago, St. Peter's beat Kentucky. What happened to St. Peter's? I don't see St. Peter's in this year's tournament. Back in 2018, UMBC beat Virginia in probably the biggest upset in March Madness history. And I haven't seen UMBC since. What happened to them? Just like Loyola Chicago, that one year they were in the Final Four. What happened to them? I get it. Times have changed, different roster. It's weird. because there's so many basketball teams. Unlike football, because football is tougher. You need more players for football than you do in basketball. Plus, football's outdoors. You need to have a good field. Basketball, you're indoors. It's like you're in, a gymnasium. Anyways, let's move on. In the Midwest region, Gonzaga beat Georgia 89 to 68. I believe that was my first time ever seeing Georgia in March Madness, because obviously they're always well known for football. Upset alert. McNeese beat Clemson by 2 points, 69 to 67. However, first of all, I did not watch any games yesterday because I couldn't. I was at work all day. And in the evening, I went out. I had my own thing going on. And yeah, I just missed day one. Normally, the first 2 days, the round of 64, usually a lot of the games are blowouts. The great teams would win easily, okay? This game, however, throughout the day, from time to time, I was checking the scores live. This game, McNeese versus Clemson, I was checking the score. This game was in the afternoon. Okay? Listen to this. Okay, so March Madness college basketball, it's 2 20-minute quarters. Okay? At halftime, McNeese was winning 31 to 13. Clemson only scored 13 points. That's crazy, man. You know how ESPN.com, they have the win probability? Clemson was the favorite to win, and I picked them to win. Okay? So McNeese was winning by a lot. It wasn't even close. But then somehow in the second half, Clemson scored 54 points. Wow. They scored 13 in the first quarter, the first half, and they scored 54 in the second half. That has got to be the strangest, what do you call it? Game cast, game recap, box score. That's got to be like the weirdest I've ever heard of. It's hard to put in the words. That's like in football. You score in the first half, you only score 2 field goals, 6 points. The second half, you scored 5 touchdowns. What the heck? I mean, I'm sure there was some college games like that, but March Madness? What? Let me look at this here. Yeah, let me see. 10 minutes left in the second half. McNeese was winning 47 to 29. Clemson was behind by 18 points. They still had a lot of catching up to do. And then somehow, as the clock ticks down, Clemson keeps scoring and scoring. McNeese doesn't score as much. 5 minutes left. McNeese was still McNeese was still winning by 15 points, 55 to 40. 3 minutes left. McNeese winning by 10, 57 to 47. 2 minutes. McNeese 60, Clemson 52. Getting kind of closer, but was it too little too late? 1 minute left. McNeese up by 12, 65 to 53. So you're telling me Clemson scored 14 points in a minute? 30 seconds left. McNeese 67, Clemson 59. Wow. I need to watch the highlights of that game. I have not checked out any highlights or games. I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to do that. We don't call it March Madness for nothing. All right. So, that's an upset. The game was not even close, guys, until like the last minute. I bet you a lot of people turned off that game at halftime because a lot of these games happen at the same time. You know, the four networks: CBS, TBS, TNT, and True TV. They all used to be called Turner Sports from Ted Turner, the billionaire, but now they're called TNT Sports, which is kind of weird because there's also a TNT Sports in the UK. Yeah, but I still call it Turner Sports. But anyways, it's kind of weird that True TV is part of Turner Sports because True TV is not a sports channel. I never really watched True TV. But I mean, you can say the same thing with TBS and TNT in the old days. But now TBS and TNT, they have a lot of sports. TNT has the NBA, even though, is this really their last year? Is this TNT's last year with the NBA? Because I know next season NBC is coming back to the NBA. TNT also has, TNT also has the NHL and pro wrestling, all elite wrestling, AEW. TBS also has AEW and Major League Baseball. I don't know if they have college football, but yeah, basketball right now is the big thing. Okay. All right, and then on the women's tournament, the ESPN networks will be broadcasting their games. Purdue beat High Point. Never heard of High Point. 75-63. UCLA beat Utah State 72-47. I got that game correct. And Tennessee beat Wofford 77-62. So now we're getting UCLA versus Tennessee, McNeese versus Purdue, and Houston versus Gonzaga. I mean, all of those are interesting matchups. Okay, so the Friday's games here. I thought I picked. Okay, so North Carolina's picking Ole Miss. I thought I picked North Carolina. Hmm. For some reason, I picked Ole Miss, but I wish I didn't because I think North Carolina's going to win that game. So, let me see here. I'm just checking the other brackets here, or the other matchups. So, Duke plays Mount St. Mary's. There's another St. Mary's. Is that St. Mary's in this team? Yeah, St. Mary's. Yeah, the word saint, not the abbreviation, the SAINT. But this other St. Mary's, Mount St. Mary's, it's just the ST. This just shows you, man, there's so many basketball schools. I guess that's why March Madness became what it is today, you know. Let's see. I guess I pick my big upset, Liberty over Oregon. I'm not too confident in that, but sometimes you just have to pick big upsets, especially for the past couple of years. You know, I remember, what was it, like 2 years ago? Purdue lost in the first round. Number one seeded Purdue lost. 2022, number one seeded Kentucky lost. 2018, probably the biggest upset in March Madness history. Virginia lost, but it's weird. Virginia won the championship the following year in 2019. So let's see. Any other upsets that I picked? I'm checking real quick here. Alabama has to play Robert Morris. Florida has to play Norfolk State. Okay, here's a big upset. If this happens, if this is the matchup, if we get Florida versus UConn, I have UConn beating Florida because UConn won the championship last year, right? I think they also won it the year before. Did they win it back-to-back years? I know for sure they won it last year. Let me see. Yeah, UConn won it last year. Wow, they won by 15 points against Purdue. Two number one seeds. Yep, they won it back-to-back years. Wow, 2023. That was a weird final because they were playing against San Diego State. They won by 17. So I have the back-to-back champions taking out Florida if that is the matchup. Let's see here. Any other upsets that I picked that didn't happen yet? Nope, that's really it. I didn't pick that many upsets. I have a feeling, I don't know why, I just have a feeling maybe we won't get that many upsets. To be honest, I hope we get, you know what I heard? I was listening to some of my favorite sports talk shows that were mainly talking about March Madness. Mad Dog Russo, Christopher Russo, I believe he said the last time all 4 number 1 seeds were in the Final Four, I believe it was 2008 or 2009. So that's a while ago. So this year, the 4 number 1 seeds are Auburn, Florida, Houston, and who's the 4th one? I forgot. Duke? Did I say Duke already? No, I don't think I said Duke. Auburn, Duke, Florida, Houston. And in the Final Four, I have 3 number 1 seeds. I have Auburn against wow, I actually have wow. This bracket's ruined because I had Kansas in the Final Four. I had Kansas in the Final Four, but Kansas is already out. The other Final Four, I have 2 number 1 seeds, Duke against Houston. In my finals, I have Auburn against Houston, with Auburn winning. Oh, and Mad Dog says the last time, since this year's Final Four and championship are in the San Antonio Alamodome, he said the last time we had 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four, that was also in San Antonio. Okay? The Alamodome is really cool, in my opinion. So, yep, we shall see what happens. The madness has begun, so I'll do my best to keep an eye on the games. I'll be able to watch some of the games on the weekend, okay? Sometimes I do that with, because I couldn't watch, I didn't get to watch any of the games on Thursday, but I would check the scores from time to time. Sometimes that's just what you have to do. Because think about it, it's hard to follow so many of the games. You know, the first game's at a little after 11 a.m. The last game ended a little after 11 p.m. oh my gosh, you can watch basketball games for 12 hours. I actually used to do that for college football. Yeah, I would watch like 4 games because the games are about 3.5 hours. Yeah, I used to do that back when I was a really big fan. Now, not much. I mean, I am still a fan, but I don't want to watch 12 hours worth of college football because, the day after is NFL Sunday, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to watch more football after that? Yeah. Anyways, so I believe that's it when it comes to basketball. So obviously the biggest story is Clemson against McNeese. The way that game played out, Clemson getting crushed 95 or maybe 99% of the game. Somehow the game was close at the end, but throughout the game, Clemson was getting destroyed. Did I have? Yeah, I had Clemson winning. How far did I have Clemson going in my bracket? I have them losing in the second round of 32 to Purdue. I have Purdue beating Clemson. So instead, we're getting McNeese versus Purdue. McNeese might win again. Sometimes these big upsets, this like a certain little team, they'll go pretty far. Like that one year, Loyola Chicago went to the Final Four. Now that was crazy. But yeah, man. Drake has to play Texas Tech. I heard Texas Tech is a really good team. I don't think Drake's going to win that game, but they might. All right. I think that's all I got to say for March Madness. So I'll listen to more of my favorite shows of them talking about March Madness. I might listen to Mad Dog Russo live. His show is, if you have Sirius XM, his show is live on the weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m. Central. Although I think the other day he did a special 4-hour edition because of March Madness. So I think in my opinion, I think he's the best when it comes to sports talk radio. All right. I know I'm well over 30 minutes, but sometimes there's a lot more to talk about, so that means this episode will be longer because there's actually more to talk. I have some more news to share. So I mentioned that sometimes I would check the scores from time to time when I can't watch the games. Well, I also do that sometimes in tennis. Okay? All right. And right now we have the Miami Open. Okay, the Miami Open. Some of the courts are inside Hard Rock Stadium. That's right, the football stadium home to the Miami Hurricanes and the Miami Dolphins. So the Miami Open has begun as well. It's this week. Oh, I keep hitting that. Sorry. It's this week going into next week. It ends next weekend. All right. I didn't watch any of the matches. I didn't watch any of the Miami Open yet, but I will. I'll probably watch some of that and the March Madness this weekend. So let me check some of the scores here. Any big upsets here? Any familiar names? Oh, Gael Monfils is in it. He's in his late 30s, and man, I gotta tell you, he looks really good for his age, and he plays really good for his age. He won. I always wish him well because he is actually pretty entertaining. Oh, guess who else? Guess who else is in it? Nick Kyrgios. Nick Kyrgios is back. The clown player. Sometimes he acts like a clown, but he's kind of entertaining. I wish him well as well. He won, so he'll be moving on as well. Can you imagine if we get Gael Monfils versus Nick Kyrgios? Now that will be a must-watch. That will be a must-watch match. Okay. A lot of these players I've never heard of because I'm not a hardcore tennis fan. I kind of used to be. Well, for the women's side, not much for the men's side. Okay. So, Gael Monfils and Nick Kyrgios won on Wednesday, meaning they'll play again on Friday, which is today as of this episode. Thursday scores. Okay, I'm scrolling down here. Okay, American Riley Opelka beat American Chris Eubanks. I heard of those players. Riley Opelka is currently the tallest tennis player right now. I believe he's 6'11". That is crazy. I mean, you see quite a bit of basketball players with that size or height. Tennis? I mean, yes, there's a lot of tall tennis players, but not 6'11". Like, no one's even close to that height in that sport. Another player that's super tall, but he retired a couple years ago, John Isner, 6'10". He's actually pretty good. He was really good for his height and size. And he went to the University of Georgia, so he's a Bulldog fan. So obviously Yannick Sinner isn't in it because he's suspended. So I'm sure Carlos Alcaraz will be in it. Oh yeah, the top seeded players, they get a first round bye. So they'll automatically be in the second round. That's good. Give them more rest because a lot of those players were at Indian Wells, the tournament that just ended last weekend. You know, you got to travel from California all the way to southern Florida. You're flying across the country, basically. That's a long flight, and you need more rest. So that's good for those players. Anything else? Nope. Okay, now to the women's side. I usually follow women's tennis more because there's more upsets. Kind of like March Madness, there's more upsets, sometimes. All right. So on the women's side, I know that the Indian Wells champion, Andreeva, will be in the Miami Open. The 17-year-old, that's crazy. The champion is 17 years old. Okay. Emma Raducanu, she easily won her match 6-2, 6-1. She's just one of those she's one of those must-watch players, especially after she won the US Open back in 2021, which in my opinion is still like the most shocking ending to a Grand Slam tournament on the women's side. Just the way it turned out to be. Let's see. Ooh, yeah, there's this player from the Philippines. And I find that interesting because my mom is from the Philippines. Okay. She won her match. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Eala. Ayla. I don't know. I've never heard anyone pronounce her name because I've never watched her on TV. But it's a player that I somehow found because I see they would list the countries that they're from. She's from the Philippines, so I wish her well. Let's see here. Victoria Azarenka won. She's been around for many years. Okay, those were Wednesday's matches. Let's go to Thursday's matches. Oh, wow. An upset. Elena Rybakina lost in 3 sets. I don't know. I guess she's dealing with some kind of. I don't know what she's dealing with lately because she's a great player. I don't know what it is, but I remember I watched her won Wimbledon in 2022. Leila Fernandez won. I like her. She's also half Filipino. In case if y'all didn't know that. Now this one's kind of crazy. American Coco Gauff shut out Sophia Kenin 6-0, or as most people say, 6-love, 6-love. What do you call that? When you win straight sets, 6-love, 6-love. What do you call that? I know they call it something. They call it something. Double goose egg or something? I don't know. Because you don't know, you normally don't see that. A shutout. I mean, golly. Sophia Kenin, she won the Australian Open in 2020. But recent years she's been dealing with injuries. But man, that I find that surprising. I know Coco Gauff's a really great player. Man, after that, Coco Gauff might win the Miami Open. I would like to see her win the Miami Open. Doesn't she live there? Or no, I think she's somewhere from Florida. Might be Fort Lauderdale. Okay, got number one seeded player, Sabalenka. She took care of business. She's obviously one of the favorites. She was the runner-up at Indian Wells. So, let's see. Any more? Ooh, an upset. Donna Vekic lost from Croatia. She's a really good player sometimes. That's the thing, man. Sometimes great players just have a bad first match in a tournament, you know? Naomi Osaka, that's always a must-watch player as well. She won 6-2, 6-4. Danielle Collins, the American player, remember? She said she was going to retire last year, but she changed her mind. I've always liked her. She's entertaining. And that's it. Okay, so what do we have here? Friday's matchups on the women's side. Any intriguing matchups? Okay, the Filipino player is going to play Yelena Ostapenko, but unfortunately I won't be able to watch that match because I'll be at work. But I'll watch the highlights. And you know how I mentioned in the last episode, a lot of times they would put the winning player in the thumbnail. I hope they don't do that with this tournament. Because it just ruins it, you know? It just gives it away. Oh, we got two Emmas playing. Emma Navarro versus Emma Raducanu, but that's also at 11:30. Man, that could be a night match. Okay, so Jessica Pegula, the number 4 seeded player, she got a bye. So this is her first match in this tournament in round number 2. Okay, we got two well-known players, Belinda Bencic versus Elena Svitolina. I think they're great friends too. That'll be an interesting matchup. Karolina Muhova will be facing Victoria Azarenka at 2:30 in the afternoon. The Indian Wells champion will be in action as well. One of my favorite players, Amanda Anisimova. I'm glad she's back. Number 17 seeded player. Wow. She'll be in action. The Australian Open champion will be in action in the evening, Madison Keys. Now, what about the men's side? Because I know that Gael Monfils and Nick Kyrgios will be in action. The question is, what time and who will they face? Will they face each other? No, Nick Kyrgios will be facing Karen Khachanov, the Russian player. I remember those two players, they faced each other in the U.S. Open quarterfinal in 2022. That was a great match. And, Nick lost, and he was like smashing his racket, man, like a crazy person after that match. I was actually rooting for him because the U.S. Open's after Wimbledon, right? And Nick was in the Wimbledon final. Let's see. Daniil Medvedev, let's see how he plays. Because I call him like the new Andy Murray, where he's a great player, but he always comes up short in the tournaments. Gael Monfils will be in action, okay. Oh! Guess who's in action? Novak Djokovic, the 37-year-old, soon to be 38. He turns 38 in about 2 months. Yeah, he'll be in action. That's during the daytime, though. He's usually better in nighttime matches. We'll see how he does during the daytime. I'm sure Carlos Alcaraz will be in action as well. Yep, he'll be in action tonight. He's playing the nighttime match. I don't know who's going to win the Miami Open. Alcaraz might win. He's a great hardcore player. The way Coco Gauff beat Sophia Kenin 6-love, 6-love, she might win it all. It's hard to say, but I always like the Miami Open, just the way it looks. I like the way it looks. All right. Any more news before I talk about the WWE? Let's see here. I get notifications from ESPN. If we get any breaking news here. Oh, I never got a chance to talk about this. So, the MLB, baseball, all right? So, two teams played against each other in Tokyo, Japan in 2 games. Tuesday and Wednesday of earlier this week. Okay? And they were both super early, 5 a.m. Central my time. I did not watch either one, and I didn't even watch the highlights. But I saw the score. I just knew the LA Dodgers were the better team. They're, the World Series champions, right? So they took care of business. I'm sure the Tokyo crowd loved it. They got to see their hero, Shohei Ohtani, So, by the way, Ohtani will be back pitching this year, but it won't be at the beginning of the season. I heard he'll be back. I think he's going to miss like the first month or 2 of the season, but he will be back because he couldn't pitch last year. He has to get back into his pitching groove and all that. So, the LA Dodgers, man, too good. They are the favorite to win it. You know how they would usually ask that question, do you take the best team to win the whole thing, or do you take the field? Well, last year, believe it or not, they asked, it was actually the day Shohei Ohtani signed with the LA Dodgers. They would ask this question to the fans. So do you take the LA Dodgers or do you take the field to win the 2024 World Series? And believe it or not, I actually took the LA Dodgers. I did. This year they're going to ask the same question because the LA Dodgers actually won the World Series. So, do I think they'll win the World Series again? They have a good chance. They can. So, do I take the Dodgers or the field? Well, I made my decision. I'm going to take the field this time because it is hard to win the championship back-to-back years. The last time that happened, it was the New York Yankees. They actually won 3 in a row. They were close to win 4 in a row. Yeah, they were in 4 World Series in a row. They won the first 3. That was their golden era. Um, yeah, because usually, you win the World Series the following year. You're a great team, but you're not trying as hard because the players get paid so much. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen to the LA Dodgers. I guarantee you, I am super confident they will win their division, and I'm also very confident that they'll go to the National League Championship Series. Will they go to the World Series? Do I have them going to the World Series and losing the World Series? Possibly. Against who, though? I don't know. The American League is wide open, in my opinion. Listen, as Booger McFarland would say, he said this on Selection Sunday for the college football playoff when Florida State got screwed out over a year ago. He basically said no team's the same from start to finish. And he's right. We've seen teams that had a bad start to the season, but they would win the championship. That happened to the Washington Nationals. Yep. That actually happened to the Nationals in 2019. Yeah, at the All-Star break, the Nationals had a losing record. And somehow in the second half, they won a whole bunch of their games. So, hey, that can happen to any team. Just shows you. For March Madness this year, I would like to see, 2 of the best teams in it. We'll see. All right. So, people don't like it when, for the MLB season, people didn't like that. You would have 2 teams play each other a little over a week before the actual opening day games begin. And I understand that because they have to go back, play a spring training game or 2 before they would go to their ballparks and begin their season. I get that. Yeah, it is weird. But it doesn't bother me. I mean, hey, international games, in my opinion, are cool because baseball is really a worldwide sport. It's not like American football. That's why we call it American football, because if you just say football, people in Europe are going to say, "Oh, you're talking about soccer," but they don't call it soccer. America calls it soccer. The Olympics, they call it football because you kick it with your foot. Get it? So the problem is with opening day, the real opening day, which is on March 27th, it's going to be in the middle of March Madness because Thursday is a March Madness day. So, anyways, running out of time. I didn't have much time to talk about the WWE, but 2 words. John Cena. He actually made an appearance on Monday Night Raw, and he cut a heel promo. I watched it, and I kind of had just like a... Sorry. I kind of just had like a blank reaction. I was like, what the heck is this? I think John Cena wants everyone to hate him in the WWE, and if that's the case, wow, that is like the ultimate heel. We'll talk more about that in the next KSN episode. But yeah, there was a lot to talk about in this episode. I'm actually running out of storage, so perfect timing, and we're about to hit 1 hour. So, basketball fans, enjoy your March Madness this weekend, whether if you're watching men's or women's or both. And if you're also a tennis fan, enjoy the Miami Open. Oh, I'm going to listen to Holding Court with Patrick McEnroe. He actually didn't. Every Saturday morning, he would do his show but I don't have to listen to it live. I can listen to it on demand. But he missed last Saturday, probably because he was at Indian Wells. So I'm looking forward to hear his show tomorrow. And that's pretty much it, guys. So thank you for listening and have a great weekend. Madness just got real. Thank you for listening to Keith's Sports News.